guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is an attorney. He's the one I've done a video on a few weeks ago about prenups and all that type of thing. Gave us a lot of really good information, and he did an update the other day elaborating all that. And this particular email is all about paternity tests. And his, no doubt, 20 years of practicing law and dealing with all sorts of things like that really came up with a common sense approach that he obviously passes on to people, clients, and all that, about to handle the whole thing. Because as many are aware, women generally don't like it when guys want them to take a paternity test. Even if they're guilty as hell, they still throw a temper tantrum and say, you're controlling, you're insecure, you don't trust me, and This idea, this thing he proposes, is a very common sense approach, a multi-stage thing, when a guy can address these things early on before actually there's a pregnancy, so there's no confusion that a paternity test is in the future, regardless of the relationship. And he goes into the dating stage, the becoming exclusive stage, the moving into this together stage, and the marriage stage. It's pretty interesting stuff, and hopefully some guys out here will hear this and will put this into play down the road. Now, I'll say this, that most guys probably won't have the balls to do a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to share it anyway because I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And, the guy took the time to do this, and he's a professional. Again, I've said in the other videos, he is, for real. I looked him up. His email matches of his law practice, and it looks like the guy. I did the homework. So this guy's a legit attorney, and obviously practicing law for a while because he's my age. I saw pictures of him and his stats. So you can trust that. So it's definitely good stuff here. So if you want to learn something, maybe it can help you out, some strategies here, continue listening on. And also, this guy's funny as hell, so you'll definitely get a good laugh out of all this. He says, Dear SSM, this is the attorney who wrote in twice about the prenup strategy and men being willing to do the actual work to get the protections that they want. I can't emphasize enough that men need to be willing to embrace a comprehensive strategy to protect themselves and not just pick quick fixes like they're choosing toppings from Chipotle. If you indulge a quick story, let me take my legal hat off and put on my fitness one. Here he's going to give an example of the point he's trying to make about certain things. He says, when you tell men to take their time with relationships, it should be make a plan and follow it through. However long that may be, I belong to the No Judgment Gym, and there are 3 guys at one location I've repeatedly seen for more than 2 years now. They are all in their 40s, they each are about 40 to 60 pounds overweight, and they're at the gym together almost every morning that I go there. However, the 3 of them end up monopolizing one machine for half an hour at a time. They take turns about 2-3 minutes between each person's set, and they end up filling the additional time by gabbing about work, sports, and family. Also, I noticed the weight in the machines never increases with them. I walked past them one day, and one of them complained that they've been going to the gym for a year now, and they never lost any weight. His buddy said, you have to give it time, bro. Right, I know what he's getting at, obviously, with what he's saying here, but I want to point out that, you go to the gym and just sit around and talk all the time and take fucking 5-minute rest between sets and never change the weight or do anything to challenge yourself. You're not going to get anywhere like these 3 knuckleheads. They have no plan. He says, time alone does absolutely nothing. If you want the full results, you have to put in the work with the gym, your diet, and your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're just fat and making excuses, and you can tell yourself, I'm beautiful at any size. Well, that's most of the people out there. It's no different when it comes to women, relationships, and especially paternity tests. You need to execute a time plan in the correct order and manner to get the success that you want. If instead you just want to wait until your significant other is 30 minutes from popping out a rugrat to ask for a paternity test, you're going to get mauled, of course, if you're one of these 3 guys at the gym had to outrun a grizzly bear. The paternity test specific strategy is designed to get rid of women who don't align with your thoughts on the important issue of paternity tests. So the longer you put off these conversations in the dating process, the more time you're going to potentially waste on the wrong women. Well, I don't think there's any woman walking the earth that, upon getting pregnant, is going to be too happy to do a paternity test. Because even if they're guilty as hell, they still don't want to do it. And if they aren't guilty, they still want to do it. So it doesn't make a difference either way. But I'm doing this, and I'm going through this here because this guy makes very good points, and he has experience in this. Continuing with the Mambo number 5 theme from the last email, it's better to screen out the Jessicas early by pushing them to reveal the red flags so you can more efficiently find the Angela or Rita that's a better fit. The fact is that women will get absolutely hysterical over paternity tests once they are pregnant because you're basically calling them a HOE for the very first time after being together for years. Well, guys generally don't ask for paternity tests, and they have very good reason to believe that she's been hoeing around. But again, whether she's guilty as hell or innocent, either way, they're going to get pissed off. And all the women in her life and yours will be screeching at you like Yoko that you're a pig even for suggesting such a sainted, holy woman who's carrying your baby could ever possibly be unfaithful. How dare you? You don't trust her. And yet, how many stories have I covered where poor guys find out their kid isn't theirs? Of course she's going to have an emotional meltdown. Of course she's going to badmouth you to everyone. Of course she'll try to turn your own mother against you and will probably succeed. This is either because, 1, she's been faithful and actually it is your kid, or 2, because you might find out she's having a baby of Ken from the sales department, and she needs to keep you off balance. This is because you're bringing this up for the first time while she is already pregnant. Of course you'll explode, and you'll deserve every screech and scowl that you'll get from being the dumbass bringing this up now for the very first time. Well, obviously this guy's getting at the point that obviously strategies to do this before she gets pregnant, or to find out these things about her personality early on. The solution is to address paternity tests at relationship milestones before proceeding to the next phase, and certainly long before any pregnancy. As you get closer to marriage, this will also mean signed legal paperwork. If she isn't going to be on board, it's better to know early on so you can get on to Monica, Erica, Rita, or Tina before you're really emotionally invested in Jessica or Angela. The strategy should look like this. Okay, now he's going to go through his multiple strategies here to make it, work for guys. But yeah, your girlfriend's pregnant, your wife's pregnant, and you want a paternity test, even though you have every right to want a paternity test, and usually guys want a paternity test when, they have evidence, or something doesn't seem right, But as he's making the point, women are going to lose their freaking minds whether they're guilty as hell or innocent for dare asking that. But he's talking about what's happened beforehand. Number 1, early in the dating process. Unless she is just a booty call, then she is definitely looking towards marriage. In fact, even if all you do is text her "you up" at 3 a.m. to get freaky, she might still be thinking about tying the knot with you someday. Yes, that's absolutely true. Don't fool yourself into thinking that she isn't. At around date number 4 or 5, you mentioned that someone you used to know a long time ago posting something on social media about finding out his kid wasn't his, and now he's getting divorced. Then you can turn to her and say, "Hey, I know things might get more serious down the road, and I'm not saying they should now or even get serious, but I need you to know that I'm never getting married without a prenup. I'm never moving in with anyone without a cohabitation agreement, and those agreements will both have a mandatory paternity test clauses. Are you good with that?" Well, I guarantee most women are used to getting that, and of course this is coming from a lawyer saying these things. This is a very valid point. That's why I'm doing this. When her ear starts streaming and she blows a gasket, calmly tell her this wasn't the first story you've heard. You have heard many more horror stories of guys who completely trusted their wives, finding out years later their kid wasn't actually theirs. Yeah, well, pretty much any woman's going to get defensive as all hell about this. What, do I look like one of those women? But you know what? If you're on date number 4 or 5, who cares? She gets pissed off, fine, whatever. You probably banged her already by date 4 or 5, I hope. Then tell her if we're going to be serious, we need to have the type of relationship where we can talk honestly about this stuff without taking it like a personal insult. And that as a man, you won't go through life not knowing 100% whether your kids are actually yours or not. Fair point. Then tell her if you're not willing to do the simple, harmless medical test that takes a few minutes of your time in order to give me a lifetime of peace of mind, then you're not the type of woman I would ever be serious about. Well, I'm all for that. But most guys don't have the balls to say that, even if they're on date number 4 or 5 with a girl they just hooked up with the first time. You see, Chad or Tyrone would say something like that. Or guys that are successful women, but most guys wouldn't have the balls to do this. They're too afraid of being alone. Or they're sitting across from some darn good-looking girl, maybe the best-looking girl they ever had, and saying something like this, they'd shit their pants. I'm being honest here. Guys shouldn't be like this, but most guys wouldn't do this. But I'm sharing this, and maybe some guys might actually try this. And if having a wife and kids is what you ultimately want and she refuses, then double wrap it and keep this Angela in the fun-only category. Or just hop on the bus, Gus, to the next one. Number 2, becoming exclusive. A man should never be the one to bring up being exclusive in a relationship. Let her bring it up. I've been saying that forever, guys. Why do you do that? Because if she ain't bringing it up, she's not interested. Because a woman really wants a guy, believe me, she'll be trying to lock his ass down. When a guy does it, that communicates to her that he really likes her. Because most guys, the guys they really want are the ones that they have to force to settle down. Because most guys that have their shit together, they have options, they don't want to just rush to settle down. They take their time. So I tell you guys, always wait at least 6 months for ever becoming exclusive. Let her bring it up. I know I'll probably get smacked for this, but she should be bringing up becoming exclusive within the first 6 months. I agree with you about that. If she's not bringing it up within that time frame, then dude, she's just not into you. It's up to you whether you want to proceed with being exclusive from there or push it down the road. But when you're ready, this is absolutely when you bring up all your boundaries and non-negotiables. Yeah, there you go. Yes, if she's not bringing it up in 6 months, obviously, you're a friends of benefits or hookup or something, or she's just keeping you on layaway. A little attention here, a little attention there. And obviously means if you're dating or whatever. All the no girls' nights out or solo trips to co-ed nude beach parties in Miami rules, the no posting bikini pics on social media or creating an only hose account rules, and the no hanging out one-on-one with men type of rules, especially the 6'5" muscled-up Chad and Tyrone's from accounting. Well, Chad and Tyrone would not be in accounting. Chad and Tyrone wouldn't have a job. All those things that are important, deal breakers in order for you to be exclusive with her, and now you must bring these 3 things up as well. You will never get married without a prenup. You'll never move in together without a cohabitation agreement. And, of course, both those agreements will include a paternity test provisions if she becomes pregnant. You see where he's going with this, guys? You're bringing this shit up early on. So there's no confusion down the road when you want it. Makes sense to me. She always has the option to walk away if she doesn't agree to paternity test. But if she won't agree to paternity test, then you need to run faster than Bruce Jenner when they still called him Bruce. Believe me, if she's not on board at this point, then she's doing you a favor by walking away. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Yeah. Look, if she goes bananas about the whole paternity test thing or prenup thing early on while we're on the subject, then don't even bother continuing on with her. Seriously. Number 3, moving in together. First, let her bring up moving in together because then you have all the leverage to enforce the terms and conditions you discussed earlier. But now things have reached a critical mass because legal paperwork is involved. Well, I agree again with that part. Let her bring up moving in together. And you should only move in together if you're planning to marry her ass. Now, this guy and I disagree about some certain things on moving in with the girl, but we can agree, disagree. I have my reasons, he is his. He says, now I know I'm going to get smacked based on this timeline. But if you're a disciplined, goal-oriented man with attached testicles and you want to build the right kind of family, then you shouldn't be wary of moving in with a woman. But make it no sooner than 1 year after becoming exclusive. Yeah, I know. Take your time. 1 year? No. I'm talking years you got to be with your girl. You can consider marrying her, let alone moving in with her. And he and I differ on this. Some guys think, well, why do you want to waste your time? Well, you need to spend time to really get to know who she is. And you're never going to really get to know who she is in 1 freaking year. You're still in the honeymoon stage. You need to be with a girl long enough to see real life things happen to her and you together and how she handles them. Anybody can put on an act for a year. Come on here, And then moving in together, and even moving in together, they can put on an act. And unless you want to get married, never move with a woman. It makes no freaking sense. And don't even do it until I'm going to save money. Those guys do not save money. Men should definitely be wary of the consequences of being a dumbass when moving in with a woman in the wrong way, which is how most men do it. This means you should always have a quick, easy, legal, and financially painless pre-planned way to drop off the key and get yourself free. If you're set with this type of plan, then I don't see any reason to waste multiple years trying to screen your girl in for possible marriage when living together early on could very quickly screen her out. Living together brings clarity, and it would probably only take a few months to see if your Angela is really a Jessica in disguise. But that's just my practical take. Don't be afraid of living with a woman. Be wary of the pitfalls of doing it wrong and having to jump off a legal and financial cliff. Yes, I agree. Look, a lot of relationship guys in this channel, a lot of guys that watch this channel, a lot of guys want to get married, and they know that living together is a path towards that. And there are things you obviously can do to protect yourself along that way. But again, this thing's about paternity tests and the whole paternity subject and all that, and it's important to bring it up early. I could probably do a whole other submission on the right strategic, legal, and financial way to handle cohabitation agreements and moving in together. But this is about a paternity test strategy, so let's stick to that. When you each get your own attorneys and get to the negotiating table for the cohabitation agreement, then you damn well need to have clauses that make paternity tests mandatory as soon as medically possible without harming the mom or the child. If she won't agree to that, then you have basketballs to just walk away. Yes, she doesn't agree to what you want, guys, walk away. But again, so many guys out there have such a, scarcity mindset, if you will, that, she's the only pretty girl that's ever going to pay attention to me, so I don't want to do anything to make her mad, make her run away. This is why, guys, you work on yourself. And that way you're feeling so good about yourself and you're an attractive dude, you got options. And if one gal doesn't like your terms, so the fuck what? There's other ones out there. We have now moved from you verbally informing her of your boundaries around paternity tests twice to her now signing a legal document agreeing to a paternity test as she becomes pregnant. This is a big psychological and legal change in circumstances. If your girl was going to go nuclear, completely lose it like the Tasmanian devil, and start smashing things, then it's better to know now rather than after marriage. Well, that's also why you spend years with your girl to see what she's like in all sorts of situations. That way you don't marry her, then find out she's the fucking Tasmanian devil or the goddamn Hulk when she's pissed off or breaks a nail or something like that. Yes, you'll get all the hate from her friends and family if this blows up, but your response is, this is at least the third time I told you I won't get married or move in without a paternity test. And the provisions. So having it in writing shouldn't be a shock to you. And just like every step along the way, if she doesn't like it, then slip out the back and go find yourself a Sandra. All right. The power of walking away, guys. But most guys don't have that. They think they don't have that. Number 4, marriage. At this stage, there should be no question about signing a prenup with paternity test provisions. You're brought up twice verbally in the dating process. You're brought up legally in writing during the cohabitation agreement. And you've been living together under the legally executed cohabitation agreement, which is essentially a prenup without a marriage certificate. You already had those paternity test provisions in the agreement, and any battles over the tests would have been fought and won already. With the prenup, any griping and groaning she and her friends or family or her FNS book club members have and harped on about before the cohabitation agreement should now be shot down faster than Hollywood and Wolfman over the Indian Ocean. He says, number 5, pregnancy. When she gets pregnant, be a good father-to-be and go to all the pregnancy examinations and checkups. But very early on during an appointment with the doctor, tell them that the two of you have a prenup cohabitation agreement with paternity test provisions. And you want any consents and paperwork completed ASAP so you can just enjoy being expected parents. If she now starts objecting to the paternity test, there's a huge chance the kid will pop out looking like Daryl from HR. Right. So you see he's making it clear about the whole paternity test every step of the way in the relationship. From the dating stage, the relationship stage, moving in together, and then eventually now marriage. It's all in the documentation, and of course, in the beginning he brings it up verbally. Yeah, this is a good idea. But again, how many guys would do this? And also, he says here in giant letters and underlined, and you should never sign a birth certificate unless the test is done and proves you're the father. Yes. He says that it really isn't that bad if you approach it at each milestone, just like you're running a checklist, and can absolutely give you a peace of mind that any kids born are actually yours. Well, that'd be nice. Not too much to ask. You just need to have the strength and mental fortitude to stand up and enforce these boundaries throughout the relationship and do the actual work at each stage. Right there, mental fortitude. In other words, have balls, have self-respect. But like I said, the checklist. Every step of the way you're doing this to make sure there's no confusion. When you ask for the paternity test, you bring this up since day 1. Well, not day 1, since date number 4 or 5. SSM, I want to be clear that the strategies I write about will fail if someone just wants to pick and choose the techniques they feel like doing, or just going with whatever timeline feels good to them. F your feelings. If you're serious about getting married, starting a family, and protecting your assets and paternity, then do the work. Get to an attorney and discuss all these legal techniques to put together a comprehensive plan, including that domestic asset protection trust that I mentioned in the first video. If you want to use duct tape solutions, then go with God, because the law will probably bite you in the ass. But hey, if you're too emotional and afraid to hurt your girl's feelings, if you bring up a paternity test, or you fear being labeled insecure or controlling, then you really have only two choices when the kid pops out looking nothing like you. I can imagine this guy's clients probably either love him or hate him, or I should say prospective clients either love or hate this guy, because I'm sure he's very direct with them, with a sense of humor, and the ones that find him funny and love him, he's got a client for life. And the ones that obviously are turned off by his bluntness and all that, they're out the door. One, just keep on skipping cluelessly through your no prenup marriage because love conquers all attitude. Then when your precious Angela squeezes out a kid who looks more like the tatted up Kyle from Shipping than you can finally smarten up and file for divorce. But by then the court will probably order you to give her half your stuff and you pay 18 years of child support for a kid who isn't even yours. Yeah, well nowadays it's longer than 18 years. I believe it depends where you live and all that. 2, you can decide to stay together for the sake of the family and raise a kid that isn't even yours. Then you can spend your life looking forward to Friday nights with your wife shopping for his and her pink panty sets at the mall's Victoria's Secret. And then you get to babysit Chad and Tyrone's kids on Saturdays while your wife Jessica goes out for girls' night in miniskirts and halter tops until 8 in the morning just to come home and eat breakfast you made for her and her kids. Good luck. You decide if you want to put in all the work the right way, or you can try duct tape solutions to end up with your financial skin ripped off. Or maybe do what most men unfortunately do and get married without paperwork. Then you too may be part of the ridiculous percentage of men cluelessly raising other men's kids. Yeah, and there's sadly a lot of them. There's an old Egyptian saying, "May God be between you and harm in all the empty places you must walk." But the law and courts certainly won't protect you without a solid plan. Like I said, I'd be happy to elaborate on the moving in together strategy, including a pretty sneaky way to possibly make money from the situation if you and the viewers think it would be worthwhile. I know you typically advise men to only move in together after many years with a woman as a final test before marriage. I do advise that, and I'll advise that to my dying breath. Don't get married with a girl you just met for a fucking year. You spend years getting to know her, and you certainly don't move her in after a year. I think that's crazy, but we disagree. We can agree to disagree. However, it's not the moving in together that can hurt you. It's the financial and legal ties of moving in together and then breaking up that can bite you if you don't handle it properly. If I weren't already happily married, I would rather move in with a woman after just 6 months of dating using the cohabitation agreement strategy rather than moving in after 15 years of dating without any legal paperwork. 6 months? Smack! No, you wait your long time like I suggest, but then you can do the fucking paperwork. Well, anyhow, man, if you want to write that in, send it in, I'll definitely cover that. So anyhow, guys, there you go. Some very common sense thing, frankly, I didn't think about. Every step of the way. Let's review. There's the dating process he mentioned, like 4th or 5th date. Preferably you bang the chick at least already and she's not pregnant, or claiming she's pregnant. And you bring this up on the basis that you guys get serious. You would want this, you'd want that, blah, blah, blah. So there's no confusion. She doesn't like it, whoosh, you're out of there. But how many guys have the balls to do that? Then there's the next stage about the being exclusive thing, which she should bring up, not you. And again, okay, we'll become exclusive, at which point, he said, and I agree, that's when you're really establishing the boundaries, like, okay, we're exclusive now, there's no hanging out with other dudes, and there's no doing girls nice to Miami and all that. And oh yeah, as I mentioned before, that about the whole thing about one day, if we ever got that serious, paternity test and with prenups and all that. And then, of course, the moving in stage, again, bringing this up so there's no confusion. And, of course, a cohabitation agreement. That's a great idea. And then, of course, you're married and you actually had the whole prenup and all that stuff written down. And, again, she's pregnant and, hey, right here, you want to do the test. And that way, she can never say that you didn't warn her or bring it up before. That means you ain't going to get pissed off and throw a bunch of hissy fits about the whole thing and make you have to be the bad guy, but at least you made it abundantly clear. And he has a point. Yeah, you bring this thing up. You've been together for years, and she's pregnant, and all of a sudden, well, I want a paternity test. If she never cheated on you, and there are good gals don't cheat on their guys, believe it or not, in this world. Sadly, those numbers are dwindling. Naturally, she's going to be fired up about the whole thing, if this is the first time you brought it up, but if you brought it before, well, there you go. And obviously, she's guilty as hell, well, she'd still be pissed off. So these are very good common sense things, and I appreciate that. And this guy is an attorney, he's been doing this a while. He's about my age. So obviously he's been practicing a lot, probably about 20 years now. He's seen a lot of shit, and these make darn good sense. I'm curious he has all this stuff in his marriage, but, who the hell knows? Maybe he got married before he started practicing law. So anyhow, bro, thanks for sending that in. I appreciate that. Somebody, I hope, will actually do this and take it seriously, but I still have to say most guys out there, percentage-wise, would not have the balls to do that, even from the beginning, because they'd be so... I mean, let's be honest, most guys, aren't exactly James Bond with the ladies, and any pretty girl pays attention to them, they don't want to mess it up. And that's the problem, Again, I try to really help guys build themselves up on multiple fronts. So not just so they can get girls and have their choice with them, but they can be the best they can be and have a good, successful, happy life, And the better you feel about yourself, the more successful you are, the way you're kicking butt on multiple fronts, you're in good shape, you're healthy, all that, take care of yourself, you're going to feel good. And guys like that, throw in some success, they got options with women, and they have an abundance mindset. So upon laying out these things you discussed, if a gal throws a temper tantrum, so what? There'll be another chick next week. And if she throws a temper tantrum, another chick next week until someone plays ball. They may not like it, but they play ball. So, good thing. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.